Life is a winding road, no telling where it goes. Driving through days and nights, won't stop for traffic lights. And I really wanna know, if I will ever figure out where the road goes. Even if I'm falling down, I will keep on searching for my highs. You can say I lost my mind, I will keep on holding my head high. Even if the sky is falling down. Jumping from cliffs so high, trusting our wings to fly. Sometimes we're crashing down, but we get up and start from the ground. And I really wanna know, if I will ever figure out where the road goes. Even if I'm falling down, I will keep on searching for my highs. You can say I lost my mind, I will keep on holding my head high. Even if the sky is falling down, even if the sky is falling down, yeah. The sky is falling down. Even if the sky is falling down, even if the sky is falling down, yeah. The sky is falling down. Life is a winding road, no telling where it goes. Driving through days and nights, won't stop for traffic lights. And I really wanna know if I will ever figure out where the road goes. Even if I'm falling down, I will keep on searching for my highs. You can say I lost my mind, I will keep on holding my head high. Even if the sky is falling down. Jumping from cliffs so high, trusting our wings to fly. Sometimes we're crashing down, but we get up and start from the ground. And I really wanna know if I will ever figure out where the road goes. Even if I'm falling down, I will keep on searching for my highs. You can say I lost my mind, I will keep on holding my head high. Even if the sky is falling down, even if the sky is falling down, yeah. The sky is falling down. Even if the sky is falling down, even if the sky is falling down, yeah. The sky is falling down.
Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? Thanks everyone for jumping in here. I should have been reading these from the get-go. Thank you, Nancy, for letting me know that there was no sound. And anyone else having issues with sound? Yes, Jillian, everybody was except me. And I'm sorry about that. For some reason, I think my sound shut off, but I'm back now. And so I'm going to start from the top so you know what's happening today. I've got the awesome privilege of hanging out with Dr. Jennifer Oster. She is a second year medicine resident physician. Dr. Oster is an internal medicine resident. She also mentors the pre-meds, medical students, other residents. In her free time, she spends time learning about and practicing culinary medicine. She finds strength in God, who promises her that I will strengthen you and help you, according to the book of Isaiah. So this is going to be a fantastic conversation. I know that generally across our nation, we have an idea about the coronavirus now. We're much better at taking care of it. However, we have an actual doctor who's going to talk to us about it today, in case you might still have some questions about how it works. She's going to talk to us about the stress the medical system is having. She's going to talk to us about the coronavirus and answer some of those great questions. And she's going to share her life with us, the journey she's taking as a Southern Californian, as a Hispanic, moving into the medical field. I'm not sure if many of you know, but less than 6% of those in the medical field, doctors, are from Hispanic backgrounds. So it's going to be an interesting conversation. She's a smart human being. She actually works at the same hospital my wife does. My wife came on here. Melanie came on a couple months ago to talk about the coronavirus and the stress that it's caused on many of the nurses because she works in that particular unit. But this week we have Dr. Jennifer. So before we get to her, give a quick shout out to, let me see, where are we at? Where are we at, Jen? Help me out here. Somebody help me. No, trust me, we're gonna get there. Hang in with me today, people. Lots is going nuts. Next week, I do want to share that next week I've got Betsy and Christy. These are the sisters who created the Delta Deck. The Delta Deck is this fresh new conversational starter. It's kind of a game. It's made out of cards, and it creates intimate and deeper conversations between people, adults, kids, families. It's gonna be a lot of fun. They're entrepreneurs. They're creators, they're artists. It's going to be fantastic. That's next week. And I also want to stop and say hello to this young lady. This young lady's name is Linda Biswash. Biswash says that she is blessed to be an associate pastor for the outreach at the Vallejo Drive Church. Her 2 cents is this: be the tangible hands and feet of Jesus to your community. Thanks, Linda, for reminding us that Jesus lives through us in the flesh when we are being tangible hands and feet of God to our communities. I know it's a little tricky right now to get to do that, but it's still possible. So, my friends, let's make that happen. All right. And you know next week's going to be Christy and Betsy. Let's get to it. Right. And here we are. I want to say hello, Jennifer. How are you?
Hi, I'm well.
Good to
Thank
see you
God.
on. Yeah. Hey, I made it through the whole beginning here without falling apart. So I'm glad that we have an opportunity to actually meet and talk and share with everybody else. So, Jen, tell me, what are you drinking today?
I am drinking oat milk. It's my latest exciting venture. We're making milk at home. We drink alternative milks as being SDA. And so I won't name the brand, but we have a contraption that makes this for you. And so I'm drinking oat milk today that my loving husband made.
That's pretty fresh. So this is actual oat milk that you guys made, like from your home.
Yeah, yeah, see?
Wow.
I don't have to spend like $3 a gallon anymore or five.
Yes. Now, this contraption that you own, is it a lot of work to actually make the thing, or can you like smash it and it goes and then you got it?
So it takes about a cup of oatmeal. Truth be told, I haven't made it yet. Okay, my husband's been making it. Everybody who knows me shouldn't be surprised by that. Anyway, um, so it takes about a cup of the oatmeal. You could put some date sugar, which we prefer, or maple syrup. And I think a cup of water. And after you put that in, you press a button. Literally, you press a button, and then it does its thing a few times, and then you think it's done, and it's not done. And then you've got this wonderful milk, and then the pulp that's left over, you could eat as cereal, or I put it in pancakes.
Really? All right. Okay. Okay.
So
So
good. And you can make almond milk from it, cashew milk, all kinds of things. So I am in love with this product.
that's super healthy and good for you, but what do we expect from an internal medicine doctor, right? I'm glad this is what you're drinking. I'm not going to tell you what I'm drinking because it whatever I'm drinking is shameful compared. You know what? I've got water.
No,
I'm drinking
share.
water.
No, no, no.
I'm
You drink
drinking
what you're
water
drinking. This
today.
is just where I am at in my chapter today, but I do not at all look at other people in any different way whatsoever. It's just where I'm at today.
I want to be where you're at, Jennifer. That's where I want to be at. Okay, so I do want to welcome everybody else on. Hey, I saw Jesse pop in here, and Donovan, and Nancy, Jillian. Good to see all of you on. As everybody's coming on, I am speaking today with Dr. Jennifer Oster. Jennifer, am I saying your last name correctly? I want to say that right. I don't want to make your husband mad at me.
It's Oster, and the
Oster.
reason people say Oster is because there's the Oster that people see on their toasters and blenders, and then Oster, which we are, which is German. So it's
All
said
right.
both ways, and we happen to be Oster.
Okay, Oster, yes. Please send my apologies to Cyrus. I'm sorry about that. Yeah, Oster. Okay. So, do you need to give a shout out or some love to anybody while we get started here, when we get rocking?
God first. I don't know where I would be without God. So I always want to take it back to Him and to my loving family.
All right, all right. Very good, very good. For your family who might catch this later, what's up to them? And I want to say a hearty good afternoon to Kevin. Good to see you on here, Kev. Thanks for jumping on with us, as well as you, Lilia. Thanks for jumping on here. We're going to get into our conversation with Jennifer. Now, Jennifer, obviously, we're going to do a 3-2-1 segment. And in that segment, you all will be able to get some real value, some educational, practical tips that you can take with you. And of course, you can guess those answers are going to be very healthy because we're talking with the doc, and then we're gonna also spend some time talking about the coronavirus and the health system. But I always start with the journey that an individual takes. And Jennifer, you've had your own real journey. So, um, did you always want to go into medicine?
I think for the majority of my life, I have. I think that right about fifth grade, I was kind of like, yeah, I think I want to do this. By
Wow.
seventh grade, I had an awesome SDA teacher who really blew wind in my sails and made me realize that at least I could try to, work hard at school, try to do this. And then, yeah, I think that every step of the way I was doing other things. I worked in public health, and even as I was helping, doing the work there, I always found myself wanting to go back into the clinical side of things. And so I guess I would say, yeah, I think if you know by fifth grade, I would say that's kind of a
Yeah.
long without aging myself.
There was a lot of things I knew in fifth grade that changed by sixth grade, though. That's pretty amazing that you were able to hold on to your dream. And what school was that you were at?
So I was at San Gabriel Valley
Shout out.
Academy, and
Shout out to San Gabriel.
what was before Culver City, the little school that was there. Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
Morgan.
And love to Culver City too. Yeah, that's fantastic.
Yeah.
So there wasn't a moment where there was like a light bulb moment for you, or did you ever have one of those where you were like, yes, here I am dissecting my Barbie. I need to go into medicine. Did you have one of those moments?
No, I don't know actually even why I was drawn toward it, to be honest. We've had people in our family who were nurses, but I don't know. I couldn't tell you why. I've
Mm,
thought about this a lot, but I can't think of one thing in particular.
all good. Now, can you take us through the shift of what a work day might look like for you so that we know? I mean, we know that you're a doctor and we know that you do internal medicine, but we have no idea what an internal medicine physician does.
Yeah. So when you're what we say on service, which is when you're like, in the hospital on the wards
Hmm.
as a internist and especially as a resident, you get there at our place right around 6:30, 6:45, get settled in, get sign out. Essentially, you hear everything that happened overnight on your patients from the people who are working at night and who are very probably tired and delirious by this point. Um, then you print out your work list. You start looking at whatever happened with everybody. Write down your vitals and your labs, and kind of getting a plan going for what you're doing. And so that takes up a big part of your morning until you meet with the boss you're attending, and you talk about everything that happened. You after you've seen your patients and go through, what the plans are, what the changes have been, what results have come up that have changed your management. And then after that, there's a lot of kind of clerical stuff that goes on, which is like writing your notes, making sure the orders were in, touching base with nurses, touching base with the team, and seeing, if they got the orders that we put in, and just making sure that everybody's on the same page on what the plan is with that patient that day. And then as time permits, going back and just visiting the patient before the day's over, and then sign out at the end of the day and head home.
How long is your average shift?
It's usually right around, it's like if you get there like at 6:45, generally I'll leave like at 5.
Mm, mm.
But if you're
And
on call, then we have a longer day. It's more like a uh, 13 to 14-hour shift.
wow. Now, is there something that you discovered once you came into this actual workload that you had no idea, maybe something unexpected that you didn't consider until you actually started doing the work that you found?
Some of the administrative things and the fact that you spend so much time in front of a computer,
Hmm.
I'm patient-centered person, and I love to be with my patients even on days when I'm tired or whatever. I'll talk to them, and all of a sudden my day's just bright and I'm just happy. Because it again, finding purpose, right? So
Yeah.
yeah, but just being in front of the computer as long as we are, and sitting as much as we do, that was kind of a surprise.
They don't show that part in like the TV shows with medicine and stuff, like that ER episode. They're not there like sitting there working. It's just, it seems more exciting. And in fact, like my wife is, she's patient oriented as well. So she loves to be out on the floor working with people, and having to do that paperwork really slows her down as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
Nancy
And you're
asked,
like, ah,
you're like, ah, yeah,
I
she
just want
shares
to
that
go see them
frustration.
again.
Exactly, exactly. I'm here to save lives. Come on. Yeah, for sure, for sure. Nancy asked a great question. She says, with COVID, have much of your schedule changed? Has there been a shift in it because of the times we're in right now?
So the general schedule is the same. It is about the same. It's just that unfortunately, that last little visit that I used to do, I don't do that anymore, because we need to
Mm,
limit contact. And then seeing patients before was like you can spend the bulk of your time that you're out on the wards walking around, seeing patients, talking to them, but actually, donning, doffing, sanitizing, zipping up these, makeshift doors and unzipping them and sanitizing again and all that stuff takes away from that time that you're otherwise with patients. So the rounding actually does take a bit longer because of that.
and for those watching along, donning and doffing are not reindeers. This is like the activity you do when you're putting on your specialty gowns and off, correct?
Yeah.
All right. Okay.
So yeah, putting
Yeah.
on a different mask, gloves, gowns, all this stuff.
Do you have to do that regularly, or do you use the same gear through the day?
So you have to put on a different gown for each patient room, because not only are they COVID patients, but they could have other, disease infections going on. So, you don't want to cross contaminate between rooms. And so you'll keep the same mask on and the same face shield on, but you have to change gowns. And so it's like, in the beginning, it took so much longer, and, you get used to it, though. It's much like, surgeons and people like in, the surgical specialties were already doing for their stuff. So,
Mm. Now, you grew up here in SoCal, right?
yeah.
SoCal native, baby. Awesome. And
Yeah.
do you come from a strong Hispanic family, or what was your childhood like?
So that's a really good question. So um, I work in a primarily Latino Spanish speaking population, and it's really funny because after I've been speaking with them for a little while, they get like a little more comfortable, and it happens almost every time. They're like, "How do you know Spanish so well?" And so our family is pretty interesting. So we're very multicultural, with lineages, uh, that are probably they're very diverse. And so even though my parents are both from the same country in Central America, Nicaragua, the cultures are very different. So my mom is from the Caribbean side of Nicaragua, and so they grow up speaking English, and what most people would recognize more so as like a Caribbean kind of dialect or accent, if you will. She speaks that way along with all side of the family. And my dad and his side of the family speak Spanish, and then along with indigenous Nicaraguan language. So that, and then growing up, in Los Angeles, I'm just a hodgepodge of all kinds of cultures.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. If you grow up here in SoCal, you're gonna be exposed to all kinds of people groups, and that's just our experience of growing up here in
Hmm.
SoCal. Not to mention your own lineage, your own cultural background and whatnot. So I mentioned at the top here, reading that less than 6% of practicing doctors are from Hispanic backgrounds. Did you ever find any particular or unique challenges as a person with Hispanic lineage going through school, maybe finding your way into your profession?
I don't have anything major, honestly, which I can thank God for. I didn't have, great barriers that I would attribute necessarily, to my culture, to my upbringing. One thing that was always kind of like refreshing was when I did see someone in the field who, I identified more so with. So even if it was, a female mentor, although many of my mentors are men, and I appreciate them so much. But yeah, I guess not having very many people who quote unquote looked like me.
Mm.
Um, yeah, but I found my way.
That's awesome because you're in that position now, and there's little Jennifers all over the world who can see you and say, "I could be her one day," right? There's power there.
Better.
So, what is something that you would share to help that young Hispanic medical hopeful who dreams to be in your shoes someday, or that you would share with that teenager, that teenage girl in high school? What's something that you could share with them um, as they're thinking about their life moving forward?
Most important is whatever you honestly want to do, like whatever you're passionate about, you can do it. There's no limit to what you can do except for whatever doors you yourself close. Even a no is an opportunity to turn that no into a yes. Um, so don't let anybody else hold you back. If there's something that you're really passionate about, it, go and do it.
Woo-hoo! Go get it, girl. That's a good word right there. Yes, indeed, indeed. Go for it. Don't let the knowers, no sayers around you stop you, right?
Nope, nothing
So
is too big for you. Nope, and just lean on God and just go for it.
just go for it. Just go for it. I
Hmm.
was just talking last week with Donovan, and we were talking about how one of our greatest obstacles is our own fear. To be able to reach our goals, we stop ourselves because we're afraid of either rejection or failure or mistakes instead of allowing that to fuel us as a learning experience to move forward into success. So yeah.
Exactly.
Mm,
Yeah, that's a lot of my fuel is if I do have fear, I just turn it into, a fire. I'm just like, oh, I'm afraid I'm going to fail. Well, then I guess I better work harder until I feel like I've done my due diligence.
Yeah, that's awesome. So tell me, what is one of your most favorite things that you experience at work? What's one of the things that you just this is, hits the spot for you?
There's so many things. So I'm training at an SDA hospital, which was such, honestly, it was like God's design for me. He led me right where I'm supposed to be. And I think it's just definitely it's patience and being able to pray with them and being able to just like meet them eye to eye, as a person, not as a patient, not as a person with this disease or whatever it is. That's right, up there. And then I really appreciate having pastors on campus who will just pray with me, and they do this blessing of the hands there. Um, yeah, I really, 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 really cherish that.
Wow, wow, wow. That is nice. That is good. It kind of gives you a sense of peace, a sense of support, gets you through that day.
Yes, it does.
Man, Jennifer, I want to thank you for being here with us. If you're just joining us, I am with Dr. Jennifer Oster, not Oster, Oster, and we're talking all things faith, medicine, health, and lifestyle. So right now we're going into do our 3, 2, 1 tips. This is the moment where you begin to write things. This is where your value, you're gonna get the bang for your buck right here because we talk to our guests and they share from within their wheelhouse things they're good at, tips on how you can improve in these areas. Okay, so today I asked Dr. Jennifer to give us 3, 2, 1 tips. So if you're ready to go, be prepared. The first one is, can you give us 3 tips on how to improve the health of the food you eat immediately?
So I won't gain a lot of fans with this one, but it's amazing. So at my church, they have like this health series. And so I've been learning a lot about like just how to improve your health, which I've seen in people very close to me. So one of the things that we do is you eliminate salt, sugar, and oil. You eat. I'm sorry, I must have lost people there. So here's an example.
We're eating
So
air
you're
and
gonna have a
water,
peanut
people.
butter sandwich. Yeah. So you're gonna have a peanut butter sandwich, right? Well, just reading your labels. Your labels, that you'll be shocked at everything in a box, everything in a can and a jar, and even the milk that we buy, alternative milks, all have sugar, salt, and oil in them. And so you're like, well, I'm a healthy person. I don't really like deep fry everything I eat, and I don't eat a bunch of dessert. Like, why? What's going on? And it's because it's hidden in everything you eat. And if you really start to look at that, you'd not only improve your health, but something that most people they look at first, right, which is their weight. You'd see a big change with that, but more importantly, in your long-term health.
There you go. 3 tips, all in one sentence. Doc, you said salt, sugar, and oil. If you
Yeah, so
want
you
to,
could replace salt with miso. Instead of sauteing with oil, you could put a tablespoon of water. And there's actually a cookbook. I don't know if I'm allowed to put
yeah,
plug.
put it out there.
Okay, so
This
there's
is
this
just
cook.
us and our homies online. Don't worry, it's all good.
Okay, it's How Not to Die.
It's a good title.
And it's a great cookbook. You'd be shocked at how good you can make your food without those ingredients and with alternative things. And his is so good. It's on nutritionfacts.org.
Oh, wow. That's good. Yes. And many of us don't want to die. So this is I would check this out. Now, you have to tell us, is there flavor in the food if we remove these things?
There is. So you'll find other ways, maybe not like in the beginning when I was learning to cook like this, and my family can hold their comments. You can. There's so much flavor in it. So our pastor's wife is a registered dietitian. She taught us different ways how to do that. So again, like if you want salt, do miso. It has salt, but apparently the soy in it assists in like canceling out the deleterious effects of having a lot of salt. And then honestly, what I tell my patients is every store has like a 21 seasoning something. Some stores have like an 11 seasoning salute, and just put a bunch of herbs in there, and you'd be shocked. It tastes really good.
I want to agree with you, but I also like that Chuggies put tacos, and I
I
want
know. I love tacos.
me
I just
too.
eat different ones.
um, and so it's good for you, even if you removed one of the three, or if you remove two
Yes.
of the three, work your way up to it because that's a great way to eat. And you can't go wrong because you had somebody who's internal medicine, you had a registered dietitian, and you had a church. So those three things together, that's that's pretty trustworthy, right, Jen?
Yeah.
Right? All
And
right,
there
okay.
again, it's healthy ways to do it too. I
Yeah,
mean, you just gotta do it healthy. You can't become a pescatarian, and you
right,
need your
right. Now, Chuggies and I will have tacos on the side. That's another story. So we're gonna move on to two tips on how to make it through medical schools. And this would probably reapply to any struggle that you're going through as you're trying to become your profession or in academics. So these are two tips on how you can make it through. Right? Go
So
for it.
I think that this can apply to anyone with their whatever it is that they're working toward, right? So even if it's eating healthier for the day, think
Ah,
think positive, which as much as I can, I do, and I find a lot of passages in the Bible to help with this. And then the second one is always go back to your purpose. Always go back to your why. Why are you doing this? And in anything that you're doing, there's always those times there's that lull, right? Where you're not actually like grinding and checking things off of the list and you're just in that like waiting time. It's in those times that you absolutely have to check into your why.
mm, mm, so good. So number one, stay positive. Number two, know your why. You used both of these as tools to help you through medical school, correct?
Yes, constantly.
Mm, 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 mm. That's powerful. That's powerful. And you can start using that immediately if you're going through a tough spell. Just for figure out a way to get positive and remember why you're doing something. And I think this is really good because sometimes as ministers you go through a time where you're like, man, this is everybody hates my guts. I don't know if anybody's listening to my sermons, and I'm losing sleep over this. Is this worth it? And this is just from a pastor's perspective. It can be a very lonely profession, to be honest. And when you return to, oh, I do this because God's called me to do this, and there's a need for it. And the positive end would be, you know what? Even if I don't know it, I know God is doing stuff. It helps you reshift the way you think about life. So yeah, it works. It
Yeah.
works. And
Hmm.
it can work for your diet as well. Think positively when you're eating that no salt cracker or when you didn't cook with any oil at all. Just thinking about how positive your body insides are going to be, right? I'm trying. I'm really trying, Jen. I'm really
Okay, I'm
trying.
gonna put in the plug.
All
So we
right, put the
had a
plug
lady
in.
that was part of our program, and so she had diabetes. It was
Mm,
type the kind that you develop later on, not someone who developed it earlier or was born with. Anyways, she had sugars that were in over the 600s in the mornings.
wow.
Like 120. And she was getting ready to get on insulin, blah, blah, blah. She was on this course for 5 weeks. It was a 10-week course, I think. And within 5 weeks of gradually making these changes, we don't just do them overnight. Um, she completely got her sugars well under control, lost weight, had more energy, felt less foggy, went back to her doctor and said, I did a bad thing. I stopped my medication. And they said, but how did you fix your numbers? And it was all diet.
Wow. There it is.
Yeah.
So, Can you just repeat what is a normal number for sugar levels? Because you said she was above 600.
Yeah, she was
Ooh,
above 600, and some people, honestly, they can even live there, Some people, yeah, even higher, believe it or not. Yeah, but you definitely want it to be like less than 120 when you
wow.
first, but not less than 90. Yeah, so she was in the 600s regularly. And her body got used to it, and that's what happens is our bodies get used to high blood pressure. It gets used to all this stuff, and then we're like, oh, they put me on this blood pressure medication and I felt awful. That's because your body got used to the, you know,
Right, right.
normal.
Yeah, it's like stretching a rubber band or something. It gets used to the elasticity being out of it, right? Or something like that.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, yeah. I know. I'm used to eating Twinkies for breakfast, and I got to get out of that habit. So,
It sounds delicious.
but we want to think positive, and we want to know why we're not eating all that sugar, people. Come on.
Okay.
Okay. Give us one tip on how to become healthier in 2021.
Well, I bet a lot of people could guess what I'm going to say, but I have to be true to myself.
Be true, girl. Be true.
Eat fresh fruits and veggies. They're so good for you and they're so good. So my counter, okay, so this started in med school because I was too lazy to thaw out meat, okay? And so on my counter, I just filled it up with all kinds of fruits and vegetables. So I always had something that was just ready to go and ready to eat. And so that's how I like made my changes, little by little with my family. And so I would say, yeah, eat more fruits and veggies. You don't have to take out the other stuff quite yet, but just put in an apple a day, put in, some mandarins and pears, and you'd be shocked.
Ooh, I like that. That's good. People just add a vegetable or a fruit, and then maybe add another one, and then maybe add another one until all you're eating is fruit and vegetables. I don't know if
Well,
that will
half of
ever
your
come.
plate
Yeah,
will
that's
be that, and that'll be your bulk, and you'll get fuller faster, and you can still have this much of your tri-tip or whatever it is.
yeah, or however, whatever size you, you know,
Yeah,
no judgment here.
just not at all. No, never.
Yeah. Oh, that's phenomenal. So those are your three, two, ones. And you can get started on it immediately. This is going to make your 2021 better. In fact, I almost want to guarantee that if you start this today, by the end of 2021, you're going to be a different shape and in shape, and your heart and your stuff's going to be working better. And then you can come back to us and say, "Hey guys, I did it, and this is pretty awesome."
Yeah.
That's fantastic. Thank you, Doc. I really appreciate you sharing in that area, and that being that you are internal specialist, that is important for us to take seriously.
Mhm.
Okay, let's talk about the hospital situation right now, and let's wrap in there the coronavirus, and then we'll go into the love one leave one after that. If you are just joining us, I am hanging out with Dr. Jennifer Oster, who is a internal medicine physician doing her second year of residency at the White Memorial Medical Center. Shout out to them. Whoop whoop. That's my wife's hospital, so I got a lot of love for them. They're doing wonderful things in their community. They are working super hard, as I'm sure Jennifer is as well. I'm going to say this right because Dr. Jennifer's name is Jennifer. Jennifer, how crazy is the hospital right now?
It's awful.
Mm,
Um, it's absolutely madness. It's insane. What you're seeing on TV uh, probably is even underestimating the crazy that happens in the hospital. And our hospital is a small community hospital where thank God our resources can encompass our small campus as opposed to some of the larger centers. But yeah, it's crazy. In the very beginning, it was like the Twilight Zone. I was like, this is weird, and people would kind of like compare it to a war zone. And yeah, everybody's like wearing these masks all of a sudden and these gowns and, shoe boots and stuff like that, shoe booties to cover. And before a shift was stressful anyways because there's life, right? And so you have to make sure
Yeah.
you connect with patients, do the right thing, research what you need to, and don't lose anybody. Um, and now you have this added thing that's like walking in here could potentially kill me.
Wow.
And you're just like, well, okay, well, what am I supposed to do with that then? Like, I'll just, okay. So at that point, you just, you got to just give it up to God, or, you have to. But it's awful. It's awful.
I want to say that my wife works in the COVID unit there at the same hospital. They've had to open a number of units. And from her perspective, it's exactly the same. So if you're watching along and you've got questions, this is coming from not just one person. This is literally what's happening across our medical field, our healthcare system, our doctors, our nurses. It is bonkers, like bonkers wild. And as a pastor, I'm not even at the local church anymore, and yet I get a call for at least one person a week from a family who's lost someone they love. Again, this week it happened. It happened last week. It's a very real situation. Please don't underestimate this thing and be considerate about it. Doc, let me ask you about you see these patients firsthand. What do you want to say to people watching right now about the state of things and how seriously should they be taking this?
So, trying to keep positive, right? I
Yeah,
think that
absolutely.
we're better in many ways than we were because in the very beginning, we didn't know anything, it felt like, about this. And we
Right.
didn't even know we were going to have the equipment, right? But now, unfortunately, I feel like I say this sentence way too much, but unfortunately, we know a lot more about this thing. And so there's hope around the corner for it, but it's it's awful. Like that's all I can say is just it's awful. And right around November, I told my husband, I said, this thing changed. It mutated, and a lot of people around we were saying that we're like, oh, this is different. Before people came in, they coming in a lot sicker. Um, I see the I don't know what ages we have on this. But to get really real, I see just a whole other set of like fear. It's to another level, that I see in people's eyes, and it's like the first moment that I'm meeting this person. And I have to have a conversation that I used to have as like a theoretical, like, hey, have you ever thought about your, wishes for your life? We got to talk about this stuff. Don't get scared on me now, and now
Yeah.
it's very so like, I don't know if I'm going to see you tomorrow.
Mm,
We have to make some decisions about you and talk to your family. Like some of them, like, I'm sorry, but you don't look well. Like I have to have you call your family today. We all have to get on the same page about what you would want.
wow. That is not an easy conversation to have.
Mm-mm.
Um, how does this stress out the health system past COVID patients? Like, because this doesn't just have implications for those families with an individual who's sick with coronavirus, right? This has a wider implication for people in general, and space and beds.
Yeah. So, um, much like people you may have heard on the news, in the beginning, in the first few months, it's a very common thing that people would say, like, where'd all the heart attacks go? And no one's coming in with a stroke, and it's very worrisome that we're not seeing this because people are just suffering at home and we're not hearing about this. So there's that. There's the fact that hospitals are having to like make makeshift wings that otherwise weren't patient care areas, and there's a national shortage on nurses and phlebotomists, and shout out to respiratory therapists. They
Hmm.
are heroes that are
Mm-hmm.
right there doing everything,
Mm-hmm.
along with our nurses. And anyways, it's we're taxed, and what formerly 2 weeks would feel like, it doesn't feel like 2 weeks anymore. It feels much longer, and it takes much longer to recover now because just all of the suffering that you see during the shift, and just how high stakes everything is.
Mm.
How
Mel-
many people, yeah, just so many tears, so much suffering, so
Melanie,
many.
she shared that patients' demographics is actually trending younger now as well. And that's kind of a frightening situation, to see that. So, yeah,
Yeah,
so true. But like you said, thinking of hopefully, we're we can see the trajectory of things getting will get better. They're not
yeah.
necessarily, the numbers are not right now, but there is hope, and by the end of the year, it looks to be a lot of positive things coming out of this. So we've just got to
Hmm.
be able to hold on and trust the process.
Yeah.
Can you explain a little bit of how the virus actually works and affects a person? Because people may not understand. Some people are saying, well, they're not really dying of it, right? They're actually dying of this, and people are counting it as that. So can you explain, so for those who may not understand yet, how the virus works?
Yeah. So it's a virus, much like other viruses that you normally would have. Anyone who has kids knows, that every winter they get adenovirus, or they get a virus, right, with the sniffles and stuff, or the flu. Whereas generally healthy populations before didn't have to necessarily worry about those things necessarily making them very, severely or critically ill, or even leading to their death, unfortunately. But this one, it's actually, what's so dangerous about this is that it's somewhere between the previous, I think it was the previous SARS. I'm just having like a
Mm-hmm.
space moment, but there was I think it was the previous one just before this. It was in the family of MERS, I think. I don't want to misspeak. Anyways, so you have influenza on this end, okay? And that one, it has, if you want to think about it as like an infection rate, the ability to spread to other people.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and if you want to think about it as the kill rate, the mortality rate, right? So both of those, it can spread easily, but it's not going to necessarily, have people pass away necessarily as easily,
Right.
right? Then you have the other side of the spectrum, which is very infectious, but very deadly. And so before it can actually spread to somebody else, that person would unfortunately pass away, right?
Right.
So this, SARS-CoV-2, this COVID, is right in the middle. So it can spread, and it keeps you alive long enough for, that person to spread,
Mm.
and initially they were saying numbers like that, one person had the infectivity rate of like 1 to 3 people. um, and what we were seeing back then, and especially back when they found it in Wuhan, was that they're seeing it more so in like family clusters, and we see that too, especially in my hospital, where one person gets it and they thought they had the flu only, so they said, oh, it wasn't that serious, I was like kind of like wiped out on the couch, but we weren't in the same room. And so it spreads that way, but unfortunately it's the person stays alive long enough to spread it. So yeah, and it attacks epithelial cell, it attacks your lungs, as we all know. But the real dangerous part about this thing is not only is it, how much virus can multiply and get into your system, right? But it's right when your body has kind of killed off a lot of the virus, and you're kind of like right here, that your immune system, in order to kill it, had this like major like overkill. Okay, it's this inflammatory response everybody's talking about, that and people say like, you may have heard things like cytokine storm, or these kinds of things, inflammatory storm, and that's what caused things like people who already had fragile hearts. They're having heart attacks, they're not having good circulation, their oxygen is low, so that their infection is so high that their blood gets thick. So they just easily clot, and that's another thing that's like so dangerous about this, that even people who have gone home a month after have developed clots. So many times we'll send people home with blood thinners. So it's all kinds. It's at its worst. It's really, 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 really bad.
Wow. Wow. Actually, that was really insightful. I just learned something today as well, listening in on this. That was fantastic. Thank you for sharing that. What are some practical tips you can give everyone right now that will help us move forward? I know this may seem a little bit like we've heard it before, or maybe you haven't heard it before, but there's a lot of talk about it. However, it's always worth the conversation. What are some practical things that you could suggest to all of us to be doing right now as we move forward to a new day someday down the line?
So I would honestly remember that fear, fear in the sense of like self-preservation that you had when this thing first happened and when you first heard about it, and then up the ante right now, because it is just it's really spreading like wildfire. It's not surprising that we're having mutations, and these mutations are actually spreading a lot more easily. So I would say just remember that, up the ante. If you are going to the store, grocery shopping, whatever, whatever, um, get the gets they rather than just like the little like simple masks that people are using, find actually one that is like an N95, or like they have at any, like most of the stores, they have the KN95. I would say if you're gonna go anywhere, wear one of those. Don't even mess with the little simple ones. Just don't take the chance, because I will tell you, I've been in the worst of the worst situations, exposed, I mean, coughed, spit at, uh,
Mm, mm.
aerosols, worse, horrible, traumatic things that happened. And I wore my N95, washed my hands. I'm a germaphobe. People at work know this about me. If you wear this thing, that's going to just decrease your chances like by so much. And honestly, stay away from people, don't visit your family right now. If you do, go through the window,
Yeah,
because then you don't.
you want to see them next year.
Yeah, and then you don't have to second guess it. I've yeah, we've had certain people, that through work or whatever, you find out that they, or patients who were initially thought to be negative and then they're positive. But I had my N95 on, and you can get those KN95s at whatever big box store, or home goods kind of stores, hardware stores is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
And honestly, it'll give you that peace of mind you need.
Yeah, absolutely. We had to go into the store yesterday or the day before, so we geared up. We went in, and it was just like packed out with people. Some of them not covering their nose, and you're just thinking like, wow, like if even if this thing doesn't affect you, you're asymptomatic. If you carry this thing, if you're a carrier, you could actually harm someone you love who has a precondition of some sort, and so just being considerate and thinking about others. And even if you don't completely buy into wearing a mask, if there's a possibility that this could be working and it could help someone, do it, because that's what Christians do, right? We consider others better than ourselves. We think about others. And here you are hearing it from an internal medicine doctor that it does make a difference. So wear that little thing. Now, we also notice through studies that Hispanic families tend to catch this more. So if you're watching along and you happen to be Hispanic, you may not know this, but your chances of landing this is about 3.4 times higher than our average Caucasian brothers and sisters. So be even more vigilant about what's happening around you. Do you happen to know why that might be the case, Joe?
Well, like I said, my population is exactly that target population that you're talking about. And so much of it, unfortunately, is behavioral.
Mm,
And so, I can't tell you how many heartbreaking stories I hear of, people who were, quarantined at home. The elderly were quarantined at home, and they said, well, the only people that that visited were these people who were dropping off our food, and but that person obviously was positive, but they're just healthy and they don't know it. And unfortunately, now I have the task of having to deliver the news that their, patriarch or matriarch has passed away within days because they couldn't handle it. They didn't have the reserve. So
Yeah.
so much of it is behavioral. And even today I was driving and it was like kind of like a gut punch a little bit, to be honest, to see, people picking up their food and they're not like wearing their mask and they're just waiting in line and they're like this close to each other.
Mm,
Um, and, no masks and just, it's
mm,
just like, man, you're healthy,
yeah.
because obviously, but my heart breaks for all the people who don't have that reserve.
Yeah, indeed. My brother always fixes people getting too close by just sneezing. He says when they get too close, "Achoo," and then everybody like moves to their corner of the world. So you could use that if you don't want to just ask them to move. Um, you know what? And what you're saying is actually true for most communal people groups because we're used to communing together. It's really hard for us to say, guys, don't come over. It's really it's anti us to do that, right? It's counter
Mhm,
cultural,
mhm,
counterintuitive for us to say,
mhm.
because I love you, don't come over this
Yes,
time, okay? And
right.
so this is just a tip for all of us. Look, be sacred about it, be good about it, and say, because I love you, let's not spend this space, and it's okay to do that during this time. It's not going to collapse your culture, or change your relationship with those whom you love. Now, we had a question that popped up, and so I'm going to ask it now. Vaccine. Have you taken the vaccine, Jennifer?
Not yet. I
Okay.
haven't yet. So it's really exciting here. So we are having, I think I'm in LA.
Yeah.
So they're starting to work into the tier where people 65 and older, which honestly, that's who, if we have a limited number, that's who I wish would have it, right?
Yeah.
So, um, and so you can go to your county Department of Public Health and you can find out how to get your appointment, especially if you're someone who is has other comorbidities, kidney issues, diabetes, hypertension, heart disease. Um, so yeah, your Department of Public Health will be able to give you more information on how to get that appointment. Please go to CDC to find out more about the vaccines themselves. And there's also other, actually, let me find this right now. I think I found this through the NIH actually, but there are other where you can find other types of vaccines. I know that a lot of people are really hesitant about getting the vaccine with it being mRNA based and it being new. And so there are other vaccines that you can read about and see which ones are effective to make your decision.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And listen, if you have a comorbidity or if you're moving in that direction, hey, take out your salt, take out your sugar, and take out your oil, and we promise that'll come down. That'll come down some for you, all right? Now, my wife, because she's working so intimately in those units, has gotten hers. She took the Pfizer, and she's doing well through it. She got a little bit of slight elevation in her like a fever almost, but has come through beautifully. She's doing well. She's healthy. She has to remember though that she could still catch it. It just won't be uh, as serious as it would be otherwise. But she could, but she's hanging in there. Um, okay, Jennifer. Now let's do a love one leave one because it's like 4:57, my friends.
Ooh, time flies.
Yes, time flies. Thank you, Chuggies, for letting us know that tomorrow in Pomona, the Pomona Fairgrounds will be rolling their vaccines out. I know that we're changing out the Dodger Stadium so that those vaccines will be rolling out soon. And so keep an eye out, listen out, because you have to make an appointment. But the appointments are moving fast. So you got to get in
Mhm.
there, get your appointment as soon as you can, obviously, and get your vaccine, and we'll keep moving on. And tomorrow is going to be a brighter day. We promise you, we promise you. But let's stay fervent today and responsible and care for each other. Jennifer, before we end out our time, we do need to do a love one, leave one moment. So would you play this game with me?
Okay.
All right. For all of you guys watching along, this is our love one, leave one time where I have our guest choose between two options. And once they've chosen, you can, Jennifer, you can say, love this, and we'll know that means you're leaving the other thing behind. Whatever you choose to love will continue to exist, and everyone in the world can enjoy it in their life consistently. Whatever you don't choose to love will have to disappear from existence forever. So like no one else in the world could ever use it again. Okay. So
Okay.
your options wisely because you can make or break the rest of humanity through your choices.
So stressful.
This is nothing compared to medical school. You got this. You got this. My friends, please feel free to play along. Get on your keyboards and get ready to type in your answers. And we're gonna roll through it right now. Jen, if you are ready, Jennifer, come on, Doctor Oster, are you ready for this game?
Yes.
Okay, all right, all right. I'm gonna start us up here. Now, you only have a minute and a half. So you don't have
Okay.
time to call a friend or think it over too long. You gotta give it to us, okay? All right, here we go. The clapper light switch or chia pet?
Love the clapper light switch.
Ooh, good choice. The neck pillow or compression socks?
Love compression socks.
Oh, jogging or yoga?
Uh, love yoga.
Oh, weights or
I
biking?
love yoga.
I don't
Uh,
know.
love weights.
Okay, so you're leaving biking behind. Oh, okay. Apple pie or peach pie?
Love apple pie.
Wow. DIY or hire someone else to do it?
Love. Oh, I never hire someone. I'm gonna say love hire someone so that I can change things.
All right.
I always
Okay.
DIY.
Okay, all right. Again, no longer DIY ever again. Okay,
Good.
Portos or Jamaican patties?
Jamaican pat. Love Jamaican patties.
Okay, all right. That's a good choice. That's a good choice. Okay, an amazing appetizer or an amazing dessert?
An amazing appetizer. Love an amazing appetizer.
Ooh, okay. Dessert goes out for everyone. No one else can have dessert again.
No.
Okay, Kirk Franklin or Israel Houghton?
Love Kirk Franklin because I don't know the other person.
Oh, Israel and Newbreed. They do that. Oh, no time for that. Oh, the time is up. Our time is over. Oh, there it is, my friends. Good job. Good job. You know Israel. Rejoice in the Lord always. Or not. Maybe if
I
I knew how
will
to
learn
sing,
today though.
you might have figured it out.
I'm looking this up.
You'll know him. You'll know him. My friends, I want to thank you all for watching along with us. And of course, as always, I want to thank our guest, Dr. Jennifer Oster. Jennifer, thank you so much. You are a jewel in our community. And I hope you know this, but the church loves you and appreciates all that you do. And if we don't say it enough, if you don't hear it from your pastor, who's an amazing pastor, I know him, or if you don't hear it from the conference office, or if you don't hear it from another minister, I want you to know, not just as your friend, but as a minister and a fellow sojourner in this world, thank you so much for what you do.
Thank you
This is
guys.
an
Oh,
understatement for me to say that we really appreciate all you're doing in the world for all of us. Thank you.
thank you.
Um, and just before we end, by the way, if you are jumping on with us, I am hanging out with the amazing Dr. Jennifer Oster, the internal medicine physician, second year resident at the White Memorial Medical Center, who's shared some time about and information about coronavirus, about growing up in her cultural skin, becoming a medical professional. And Jennifer, if you would, could you just send us out with some final words, some inspiring words to all those watching along?
I want to read, if everybody has time, to just read a couple of verses. It's Ephesians 2:8-10. And it's, "For it is by grace you have been saved through faith. And this is not from yourselves, it is the gift from God, not by works, so that no one can boast. For we are God's workmanship, created in Christ Jesus to do good works, which God prepared in advance for us to do." So always give it to God, please.
That's awesome. That is a phenomenal way to end. Thank you, Jennifer, for rolling with us today. And thank you all for rolling with us as we usually do every week here on Tuesdays. Next week, we're going to be hanging out with both sisters, Betsy and Christy. We're going to be talking about the really cool thing they've been doing with Delta Deck. And it's a great conversational starter. They're entrepreneurs, they're creators, they're artists. You're not going to want to miss out. But until next Tuesday, I pray that God keeps you safe and keeps you inspired. Thanks again, Jen, for rocking the house. God bless
Thank
you, everybody.
you.
We'll see you all
God bless
next Tuesday.
everyone. Thank you. Good to
All
meet
right.
you all.